Well, here we are, the final video in my low-key launch series. So let's get down to it. Let's wrap this series up by talking about numbers, talking money, and talking about what comes next for me and my books. As I'm recording this video, it's been exactly 1 month since I published On a Dark Tide. This is my third novel, but it is the first book I have self-published. I don't think it will be the last, though. I had too much fun making this one. To learn more about my journey moving from traditional publishing to self-publishing, start with the first video in the series and watch all of the way through, or jump around to find the subjects that interest you. I know you're all dying to know how many books I sold in the first 30 days. I'm not entirely sure how accurate this number is going to be. I did my best trying to pull numbers from all the distributors that I'm using, but it seems to be pretty close to what I'm actually selling. So, drum roll, I hope you're sitting down for this. Here we go. In the first 30 days, I sold 176 books. I don't hate that number, but it's much less than what I sold with a traditional publisher, which was in the thousands for both Crooked River and Everything We Lost. And it's not a number that will bring in any meaningful income. I published the paperback, ebook, and audiobook at the same time, so how do those numbers break down? I sold 29 ebooks, 96 physical copies, that's a pretty good number, and the rest are audiobook sales. I published wide, which means I am not publishing exclusively through Amazon, though Amazon is where I'm seeing the most sales currently. While Amazon is a great tool for indie authors to sell books, I'm not sure I want to just continue to feed that monster, and I like the idea of growing audiences on other platforms. Especially where audiobooks are concerned, there are a lot of audiobook markets that I can't reach if I'm exclusive with Audible with Amazon's distributor. So I'm using a distributor called Findaway Voices, and the fun thing I've discovered is that libraries are able to check out the book through one of the distributors that Findaway Voices uses, and I get like $1 every time someone checks it out. That's pretty small, but it was also a market that I wasn't anticipating. I'll take it. Now, what are the estimated royalties from those numbers? That's a trickier question to answer because there is a delay in sales reports and royalty reports, and I can't actually see my royalties yet from Audible. Many of the distributors I'm using have real-time sales numbers, but Audible sends out a royalty report, I don't know, every 30 days or something like that, and I haven't gotten one from them yet. So let's exclude Audible from this number. I'm also going to exclude direct sales. Taking that into account, I have made approximately $1 million. Just kidding. Just kidding. You know I am, obviously. Excluding direct sales and Audible sales, I've made about $231. And I'm not going to break that down to an hourly rate because it is definitely less than a penny. It's still a long way from the $3,000 advance I got offered by the publisher I turned down, but progress is progress. No matter how small, I'm moving in the right direction. Look, making money in the book business is hard. There have been a lot of discussions recently and some great articles about the reality of money in publishing. Yes, there are authors out there making a lot, but there are many more of us barely scraping by. I've made more money publishing books than I ever thought I would, more than some people will make in their publishing lifetime. But publishing has yet to pay me a living wage. That seems contradictory, doesn't it? The thing is, let's take traditional publishing, for example. Let's say you get a decent advance of $50,000 for one book. That's great. Pop the champagne and celebrate. But that amount is going to be paid out, usually over 3 pay periods. Plus you have to pay your agent 10 to 15% of that, plus taxes. Oh Lord, the taxes. By the time you get done, you will have much less than $50,000. And if you break that down with the hourly rate, the amount of work it takes to write a book and edit a book, not to mention keeping up with social media, doing marketing and publicity, etc., you're not looking at a very lucrative business model. You're not looking at the kind of job where you can even pay your bills regularly. Plus, with that kind of advance, unless you get lucky, you're probably not going to see additional royalties very quickly. So it's not like you're going to be getting royalty checks coming in every few months. It's $50,000 for a year or more of work, and then you better have another book ready to sell, or it's going to be another year or more of not getting paid while you write another one. Self-publishing isn't much better. Yes, the potential to earn higher royalties faster is there, but you don't have the kind of support and platform you get from a traditional publisher. If you're lucky, you get that kind of support from a traditional publisher. Maybe you don't. But the problem with self-publishing is that you're paying out of pocket for a lot of things that a publisher would generally pay for. Covers, formatting, editing, etc. Now Ryan and we did as much as we could to cut costs with this first book. We published it as cheaply as possible. I've been on enough indie author forums and listened to enough podcasts to know that you probably shouldn't do it the way we did. But we had the luxury of experimenting, and also I have an intermediate knowledge of publishing and the book business, so we decided to do much of it ourselves. We designed and created our own cover. I edited my own book with the help of writer friends and proofreading software like Grammarly. I did not pay for an editor for this book because I had gotten feedback from my agent and editors when we were out on submission. I probably will pay for an editor, at least a line editor or copy edit, next time, simply to save time. The amount of times you have to read a project over and over to catch all the mistakes is infinity. But honestly, you have to read a book a lot of times to catch mistakes, and it's time consuming. I think paying someone for the next book will be worth my time, but that can be like $1,000, so for better or worse, I skipped it this time around. I learned how to format a book, so we didn't have to pay for that. I didn't pay for any advertising, at least I haven't paid for any yet. I've talked about why I'm not paying for advertising in previous episodes, but it's just, with one book, it's not going to be a very high return on investment for me. You're going to dump a bunch of money into advertising and not see a large sell-through because you have just the one book. Anyway, advertising makes sense later in an indie author's career, but right now, I don't know. Maybe I would have had a few more sales, or maybe I would just be out a couple $100, a couple $1,000. With the audiobook, I recorded it myself and Ryan mastered it. We didn't pay anyone to do that, and that was a huge time commitment, but we were both having fun with it. So Ryan and I did the best we could to do a lot of it ourselves, a lot of the work ourselves, and to keep costs down, to spend as little as possible. But even with that, we still had to spend money. We had to pay for the stock image we used on the cover. We had to pay for formatting software. We had to pay for ISBNs, which are the identification number on the back of a book. We had to pay for audio equipment and mastering software. We had to pay for proof copies of the print book and shipping costs for them too. We have to pay for website hosting and for my domain name, and I'm definitely forgetting a lot of smaller costs incurred along the way. All of that adds up, and I'm pretty sure the $200-something that I made doesn't even come close to putting us in the black. This business can be incredibly discouraging because you work so hard on these books, these stories. You spend time carefully crafting and creating, and then you really don't get paid very much for the kind of effort you spend making a book. It really is an exercise in love, in patience. It seems to me that with books, there's always this potential to make money. It's not a product that disappears, and new readers will discover it. You might get lucky 1, 5, 10 years from now, and part of that potential is what keeps me going. There's always the chance of some lucky break coming around the corner, of being in the right place at the right time with the right book. But I can't rest on that hope. That's not enough. I also keep writing because I love it. Because it is one of the few things in this chaotic, painful world that makes sense to me. I often see this phrase going around, something writers will sometimes share. I don't love writing, but I love having written. I've never been that person. That's never resonated with me. I love writing. I mean, I love having written too. I love being done, but if you're not enjoying the journey, why bother? Because truth. Hard truth. This publishing books business, it's not a very good get-rich-quick scheme. It's not even a very good get-moderately wealthy scheme. Okay, so if I'm not making money, do I have a second job, a day job? A lot of writers do. I probably should have one, except I don't want one. And you want to talk about incredible privilege, I have it. I'm able to write full-time, not because I'm making enough money to support myself, but because my husband is my patron. He supports my writing, my career as a writer, both emotionally and financially. We're frugal, we're careful with our budget, we live simply. We've never really been the kind of people who try to keep up with the Joneses. But I'll tell you, if not for him, I would have to go back to work. I would have to get another job, one that delivers a paycheck every 2 weeks. I might still end up doing that in a few years. I've given myself a little bit of time to explore this self-publishing option, to kind of try and get my career unstuck, but maybe I'll go back to work. I don't know. I don't really want to. I like working for myself, even if it's for pennies an hour. I like the freedom I have to pursue this creative life, but I would also love to be able to support Ryan, to support myself with the income I make from writing, the way he supported me. I want my writing to be a steady source of income. It might not be a lot of income, but I would like to contribute in that way. So what comes next? How do I keep building this business? How do I find a way to make publishing work for me? How do I keep selling? I think the key is to keep writing new books and learning about the publishing business and getting creative with marketing and finding new ways to reach readers. One thing I see as being a potential to increase royalties and overall profit margins is direct sales. Ryan finally built a shop on my website. It is done. It's live now, and you can go there and buy signed paperbacks, ebooks, audiobooks directly from me. There's even an audiobook ebook bundle which you can grab, and this has the potential to be great, especially with audiobook sales. Audiobook sales right now are difficult. The royalty share is low. With ebooks, it's 70% to the author. With audiobooks, it's quite a bit less than that. 40% on some platforms, 25% on others, pennies if you're doing like a pool. Making an audiobook was labor intensive and those royalty shares are laughable. But with a direct sale, except for the small 3% transaction fee, I keep the majority of the royalty. So buying direct is a great way to support your favorite authors. The other thing I see helping with sales and royalties is promotions and advertising. Though I didn't do that this time around, I know that promos like free books, discounts, and advertising on platforms like Facebook or Amazon can boost a book's sales. Now, by the time you see this video, I'll have participated in my first promotion on Kobo, which is an ebook retailer. They're doing a Memorial Day sale and my book will be discounted to $2.99 during that sale. I'm not going to pay for any advertising with this one because I'm trying to get some baseline information for how these promos might work for me in the future. I'll announce the sale on social media, but I'm interested in seeing if the promo itself and Kobo's advertising will make any difference in sales. I'll report back on that later. Another thing that I'm working on is my newsletter. I have a small, loyal readership right now, but I'm going to be working on ways to grow that audience, including offering a free short story for people who sign up and getting more streamlined with what I write every month. I've been experimenting with content for my newsletter over the past few years. I'm comfortable using and sending out a newsletter on a monthly basis, using it to connect with readers who are interested, but now I'm feeling like I want to level up and really start to provide good content to people who get my newsletter. I mean, I think I was providing good content before, but I want to draw in new readers too. So I'm going to be reading Newsletter Ninja and coming up with some ideas for how to expand that platform. The final thing I would like to try to help increase future sales is to be more social. Not social media. No. But networking and reaching out to other authors and to podcasts and finding a readership through events, whether virtual or in-person, collaborations, that kind of thing. Except for the event that I have coming up with Orca Books on June 11th, details below, I don't really have anything planned, any events or podcasts or anything like that. But I do know that as a reader, I've found some great new reads because of podcasts or author interviews or other things like that. I'm naturally introverted and I'm shy, and it is a bit of a challenge to me to reach out to people to invite them to do something or to pitch myself or my books. No one likes rejections, but I'm finding that I'm getting a little bit more confident each time I try pitching or talking to new people, so practice makes perfect. I've been thinking a lot about the grass is always greener syndrome, how when you're self-published, you want to be traditionally published, and how when you're traditionally published, maybe not all the time, but for me, I look over at indie publishers and all the cool things they're doing, and it's like, oh, maybe I want to be over there instead. It's hard to see someone doing something or getting something that you want or think you should get. It's hard sometimes with this business to keep your eyes on your own paper, to quiet that green-eyed monster. But I think that the more you focus on your own craft, your own path, the easier it will be to bust through the obstacles when they come. It's easy to get frustrated with this business, to feel like you're rolling a rock uphill or beating your head against a wall. That's why I think it's important, as much as possible, if you're going to be in this business, to find something you really love about it and cultivate that. For me, it's the craft. Writing and coming up with new stories and editing. It's the refining, it's making and sharing new things, even if I'm only sharing it with a few people. So when I'm feeling frustrated by all the rest of it, I come back to a new story. I daydream and brainstorm and get excited about my characters and the worlds we're going to be visiting together. Find something to keep you going, because this publishing business, it isn't easy. It's stormy and wild, and it doesn't matter if you self-publish or publish with a traditional publisher. It's unpredictable and can easily and quickly become disheartening. It can also be really exciting and filled with joy. The good news is, if you're out here doing this, if you're writing and publishing books, you're not alone. There are other people out here striving, experimenting, failing, succeeding, getting up and trying again and again and again. That's what I want to end this low-key launch series on. Because I am not the first person to self-publish a book, and the only reason I was able to do this was because of all the other people who came before me. All of the authors and entrepreneurs who experimented, who tried and failed and tried again and succeeded. People who share their wisdom freely and graciously with the rest of us. Without these resources, without these people, On a Dark Tide would have never happened. Thank you to Joanna Penn and the Creative Penn Podcast, Brian Cohen and H. Claire Taylor with the Sell More Book Show, Lindsay Broker and the gang at Six Figure Authors. Those are the three main podcasts I listened to while I was learning how to do all this, but there are so many others. So many more I'm still discovering. The Rebel Author Podcast, the Self-Publishing Show, the Spa Girls. That's just scratching the surface on the resources I found online. There are also a bunch of indie authors out here on YouTube just killing it, plus articles and indie author forums and groups that have been a deep well of information and inspiration for me. I still have so much more to learn as I continue on this self-publishing journey, but it's good to know that no matter what, I'm not alone out here. Let me wrap this all up by saying a hearty thank you to all of you who have joined me on this new and exciting adventure. Thank you for watching these videos. Thank you for cheering me on. Thank you for teaching me new things, for buying and reading my books, for leaving reviews, for telling your friends, for being my inspiration every day to create something new. This may be the end of the low-key launch series, but it is certainly not the end of my writing and publishing life. I'm really just getting started. And while I won't be on YouTube as much talking about my writing life, I'll pop in occasionally with updates and insight and new book info and all that good stuff. I will still be making videos about books and what I'm reading, so bookworms, stay tuned for more of that. Thank you so much again for joining me as I launched my first self-published book. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Now I'm going to take that $200 I made and buy myself a very expensive cheesecake.